Welcome to AEC Insider by Communa, where we bring you all sorts of interesting news and people in the AEC world. For those of you that don't understand what AEC means, it's architecture, engineering, and construction. Today, we're having a sit down with Michael Mejia. He is the big boss HR guy at a big firm in Chicago. And Mike, let's start off. Tell us your story, man. Where are you from? What's going on?
I grew up in the Chicago suburbs all my life. Started getting into HR probably about, I'd say maybe 10 years ago at this point. Started off as a generalist for a construction firm and ended up moving on to the engineering side once I became an HR manager at my previous position. Just running an HR department of one and trying to make sure everything's running smoothly and taking care of people, though. So.
Oh, that's awesome. And this name of yours, Mejia. Tell me about that. Where's
Yeah.
that from?
My dad's from Mexico. I'm not. I was born and raised in the suburbs of Chicago. My dad's from Michoacan, Mexico. Came here, immigrated to the U.S. Geez, I think he was probably like 26 or 27 at the time.
Young
And
guy.
here I am. So yeah.
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 And your dad, did you speak a lot of Spanish at home? How's that whole growing up
No.
with a
So I mean,
Mexican dad? How's that
my
like?
mom is from Maryland. She's like, primary background is German, Scottish, Irish, and Swedish. So she doesn't know Spanish. I know some. I can understand conversations. I can't really hold a conversation very well for it though. But my dad, he would try to speak Spanish. But what they teach you in school here, it's like very proper Spanish that, when you're talking to a native Spanish speaker, he's normally like, what the hell are you saying? It
Yeah.
sounds so proper, right? And so I never really picked up on it too much though. But I understand, what someone is saying to me. I can get the gist of what's going on.
Yeah.
But I can't roll my R's, so that kind of, hurts a little
That's like
bit.
half of Spanish.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's not my expertise though, But no, he fluent speaker, he was, and yeah.
Yeah. Wow. All right. And how was it like having a Mexican dad, man? That must have been interesting growing up.
Yeah, well, all right. So the town I grew up in, it's like just south of the Illinois-Wisconsin border, and my entire time growing up in that town, everyone is Caucasian. I think there was maybe two other students in my school that were Hispanic or came from a Hispanic background. Only one of them spoke Spanish. So, you always feel different. You always feel like you've got something to prove, like you have, a little bit of a chip on your shoulder because, it's just, it feels weird.
Yeah.
You don't see people, you don't interact with people that you expect to be like and so it's, and you come from a small community, a small town like that, you come across, some biases, you come across, sometimes even racism too. And I think if anything, over the long run, it kind of makes you, really motivates you to kind of prove these people wrong, to prove people wrong in general, and to be able to, I guess, just grow, within your career, personality wise. I mean, it makes you, really have a tough and thick skin for a long time. So, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I get that. I get that. I grew up with this weird Brazilian named Petrus in a little town in Massachusetts called Winthrop.
Oh, okay.
18,000 residents, and
Dang.
we were one of the few Latino families. And I get where you're going from. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Let me ask you. Let's just get into AEC. As a Latino HR manager in this industry, for our listeners, SWI Group came out with a study last year where they found that 75% of people in AEC across the U.S. are white and male, and only 25% represent women and other minority members. And so my question for you is, as a Latino HR guy, how's your background and these experience shape the way that you approach this role?
Yeah, when I'm interacting with other HR managers, other HR directors, I get exactly what you're saying. If I go to a convention, if I go to a meeting, that 75%, if not slightly higher, is probably correct. And so, kind of like what I was describing with my background growing up as a kid, just having that thick skin and just being like, hey, you know what, I'm in charge here. I have a lot to bring to the table here, and really wanting to prove yourself and show people that you are somewhat of a force to be reckoned with sometimes. You got to really kind of lay down the law and lay down the hammer sometimes. And I kind of have always taken that approach in my role in HR too, in that, I just only know how to be myself. I only know how to be me. I'm not going to try to play it, or act a part or play, what someone tries to, mold me to. It's either, you take it or you leave it. If you feel that I'm a good fit for you, if you think what I have to bring, as far as value is important to the company, then great, then I'm your person. And I do a very good job. I try to do a very good job of, proving that I do know, what I'm doing in this role. I am very capable of doing more. And it's just, you got to have that motivation every single day. I mean, and don't get me wrong. Everyone always has, insecurities. They always are, feel like they're not good enough at something, or they're not confident. And it's weird. There's something called imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
If you've ever heard of that
definitely.
before, right?
Yeah,
Where,
yeah.
you're at a point in your position, at a point in life, and you're like, I don't deserve this, And I feel that on a pretty regular basis, but I
Wow.
think what it does for me though is it motivates me to go to try way above and beyond, to try way harder than I think I probably normally would, and that's a struggle every day. But at the same time, it's nice when you get these little snippets every once in a while. It's like, okay, maybe I do actually know what I'm doing. Maybe I do actually belong here, right? And
Yeah.
that keeps me going. So it's I don't know. I mean, that's just the mindset that I feel like you got to take just going into one, this type of role, and two, this type of industry. So,
Yeah, especially because you guys are dealing like just in a generic way with construction. So it's just like
yeah,
when things are badly built, it's different than when like a tech product goes wrong, right?
yeah,
Like if you're building, like if you put a bug in a system that might like I don't know make someone's day a little bit more stressful, but if you have a like a crack in infrastructure, like that's a huge problem. So, and as an HR guy, like you're dealing directly with the people that work and build and draft and design these really really important things that can, if badly built, can kill people. So I get it. I mean, I get where you're coming from, where you're man, I got to do a good job because more than other professions, the AEC world is so like you got to get it right. Like it's like AEC
mhm,
pilots up on a plane. Like it's just like it's one of those things that you can't get it wrong, right?
sure, sure, exactly.
That's
Exactly. But
and
also when you
yeah.
meet the people that do these designs, and you meet the people that do, like, I mean, at least as far as our company, everyone here feels that pressure, and they know, you know, what can happen if they don't do, the proper job, or if they're not accurate on something. And they take a lot of pride in making sure to double check, triple check, go through a QA QC process, and really just making sure that, okay, what in fact I did design will be sustainable and will hold up. So yeah, I see the pressure, and I can feel it from them sometimes too, but they're really proud of the work that they do though. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no, and it's good work, right? I mean, you're building things that last, which is
yeah.
yeah. So what's it like for you when you like, hey, my company built that thing over there.
Oh, it's cool.
How's it like? How's it like for you?
It's cool, like when I just drive around like my town, and I see, our company's trucks working at a car site. Like even my daughter too, she's like, "Hey, that's your work." I'm like, "Yeah, it is. Look at that." Like it's really cool to see. And and I live in the community that we operate in, like our corporate headquarters. I do live in that same exact town, so we do a lot of work for that city. And yeah, I mean, I appreciate the fact that they're helping. Our company is helping to change, the not only the infrastructure, but the look and the ease of living where we are. And yeah, it's really nice. So
And it's one of those things that will literally and physically outlast you, right?
yeah,
Like one day you won't be around anymore, but like you were part of that one thing that was built,
you
which is
bet,
amazing, right?
you bet,
It's,
yeah.
it's, it's, yeah. So going back to our questions here, you're Latino in a predominantly white and male industry. Why do you think it is that's the case? Like, why do you think AEC has this sort of 75-25% ratio?
I don't know. And it's
I like
weird.
that answer.
Honestly,
Honest. Yeah, I don't know.
it's weird because I don't think that's only applies to the AEC industry. I think it applies to a lot of industries in our world, and a lot of upper level management type roles too. But it is slowly changing, and you are starting to see those changes. Like when I go to, like an HR convention. I mean, if it was say 10 years ago, I would feel like kind of like the odd man now. But now, I'm starting to see that switch and starting to see that change, and it's really inspiring. It's really hopeful to kind of see like, okay, this is actually coming along. This is actually going into the future to be a more diverse group of people. Back in the day, an HR person was typically Caucasian and they were typically female. That's not the case anymore. But
That's true. That's
yeah,
true, right? Yeah, even in
so
HR, you're
yeah.
breaking standards, as molds. I mean, you're breaking molds as a Latino in AEC, but also as a man in HR. That's interesting.
Honestly, like my HR group that I normally work with, I'm the only male there. So
Oh, really?
it's great, cool, but
Breaking. This guy just breaks the mold, man. Look at
it's
you.
just weird. It's weird, but I mean, as far as why, I mean, maybe just minorities weren't educated in the different types of fields that they can go to. Like they don't have to do manual labor. They don't have to do what their dad or what their parents did. And I think that education kind of starts from the schools. Like when they're in middle school, when they're in high school. Like there's a program that we participate in called the Explorer Group, where we actually go out to high schools and show them and give them demonstrations and show them exactly what it is that we do. And show them, where you can take a career path in engineering. And I think a lot of times, most kids aren't thinking about that. They think about, some of the top things like being a lawyer, being a doctor, a veterinarian, a businessman, whatever that might
Yeah.
be. They are just wanting to be rich, right?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you
Just
know,
get paid. Get
yeah,
money, get paid. Right? Yeah.
but I think when you start at like a school level and you start to give them more information about, hey, there's more opportunities than you think there are, and there's more positions that are very rare and that don't have enough people. This could be you. I think it
Yeah.
resonates with them very well, and it's really cool to see though. But yeah, I think that mindset's kind of just starting to change at this point, and you are starting to see more minorities come into this type of industry and other industries too to kind of break through. And yeah, it's not 75% Caucasians anymore. I think it's really starting to switch, and
Yeah.
maybe that depends on where you are geographical wise, but like we live in a pretty diverse city in Illinois, and I don't know. It's just that has always been kind of a weird question that I've tried to answer myself for a very long time, and I kind of gave up trying to answer. It's like, okay, well, let's just look towards the future now and
Yeah.
focus on this.
Let's
So
just try to solve it. Like if we can't answer
yeah,
the why, let's just try to get rid of the problem, right? That makes
exactly,
sense.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, what advice would you give, young people fresh out of college or fresh out of high school looking to get into AEC? I mean, what would you tell them to do? What would be your advice for them?
First, they need to almost, and not, it doesn't have to be concrete, but really try to figure out okay, why do I like this type of industry? What about this industry do I want to learn? Because a lot of times the interns that we typically get each year, and we normally have about 14 to 20 interns each year, and when they first step foot, like usually they're sophomores or juniors in college. They have no idea what they want to do in engineering. All they know is that they want to do some type of engineering because they're passionate about it. So I would say the first step would be to do as much research as you can, talk to as many people in the industry as you can. If you know someone in the industry, try to just do like a job shadowing with them. But I think probably the most important start to their career would be doing internships. And then that should start, if they can get an internship their freshman year, that'd be great. A lot of companies usually wait until like you're a junior or senior. But try as soon as possible to get in, ask as many questions as you possibly can, and just really get to know what that industry is about. But talk to the people that are in that industry first, and really see what they can do. So
That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
yeah,
And you mentioned that you guys go out to high schools, right?
yeah,
Can you share any examples of how you guys have, supported this sort of inclusion practice in the company that you work at today?
yeah. We don't really have like any formal initiatives. I
Yeah.
think it just very organically has happened in a weird way, but
Wow, that's cool.
when we go to the schools, we really do try to, to bring everybody to our booth because there's other companies there. So what we try to do is have like a hands-on demonstration. So, what we actually did was we connected it was a camera setup from an Xbox that you use for an Xbox, right? I don't play Xbox, so I don't know exactly what it's called, but and it overlooks like this massive sandbox. It's about 6 feet by 6 feet, and it tries to show them where water is going to go under certain terrain. So you can actually take your hand and swipe the sand and see, and it'll have like different colors representing water, land, you name it, plants, vegetation, and it'll actually show you, where that water is going to go. And sometimes it's weird. It's like I would never think that, stormwater or wastewater would move in that direction, but it's water. It's not going to stop. And I don't know. It's just really cool. It's like a little, play toy that we bring to all the high schools sometimes, just to like, get them interested. Because talking about it isn't going to be enough. But if they actually kind of see, an example of it, it's pretty cool. But I mean, that's what we do, as far as trying to, just, I guess, bring more diversity to our company, is going to maybe some of the schools that are overlooked by other companies. You know what I mean? Like maybe some of the smaller schools, some of the schools that, maybe don't have the greatest reputation. It just depends. We don't discount, we're not going to say, oh, we're not going to go to that school, it's a little dangerous. Like, no, it's like, okay, let's go to that school. Like, they deserve to learn about this too. And yeah, there's just no discrimination. Once you take that bias out of your head, and once you try to look at people as all equals just in general, you really just kind of don't start to think along those lines. But that is a hard habit to break, I would imagine, especially if you grew up with parents who maybe had certain views that maybe I don't at this point. You know what I mean? It's tough.
You got to break. You got to break. Not just your own mindset, but what has been passed on to you. Sometimes you think that you're only, like, I was destined to do this one specific thing because that's what people told me to do, and you don't see that there are amazing opportunities to grow and to create a great career in an industry that you thought wouldn't be possible for you. Yeah. I get it. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I remember having the same conversation with my dad. I mean, he came here, he did the same job. He helped he welded industrial saw blades for agriculture, right?
Wow.
And that very hard physical labor. But it was
welding, right?
Yeah. It was a steady paycheck. It was something, and he kept trying to get me into it. I'm like, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? But I could see why it would be really hard for people to kind of break away from that, because, and especially if you're a first generation person here, and your parents immigrated here, and you're the first one born in the U.S., right, or born in another country. They're going to try to instill certain things on you to live, to earn a steady paycheck, and certain mindsets that maybe you don't agree with, and maybe you shouldn't agree with if you want to expand and do something else and do something on your own. So that is a hard thing to break, I would imagine. It's not. I mean, I know I grew up with it a little bit too, and it's like, I don't know. You just got to make your own decisions sometimes, and just understand, like, if you really want this, then you put all into it too, though. So.
That's amazing.
It's weird.
That's amazing. And my last question for you, and it's this one's kind of out of the blue. Where do you see AEC going? The next 10 years. What do you think is going to happen to the industry as a whole? Ooh. And what kind of opportunities you think are going to come up for the other 25%? Like, hey, come into this industry now because this is going to happen, or I feel like this is where it's going. So I want Michael Mejia, HR manager and psychic right now, please.
I can only kind of say what I hear from these guys. Someone had told me, he's like, well, in 100 years, we're not going to have traffic lights. I'm like, what the hell do you mean? But I'm like, okay, that actually could happen. It could make sense, but I think you're going to start to see a much younger generation, coming into AEC, because those middle experienced people, like that 10 to 20 years of experience, they're just very low in supply at this point. Yeah. And so, like, I know what we've been doing, what I've seen other companies do, is really focusing on those entry-level candidates to groom them into the experts that they want them to be, say 10 to 15 years down the road. And so I think the average age is going to get younger, and anytime that happens, I think the mindset's going to start to change. The culture of the workplace is going to start to change, and you're really going to start to see like a major shift in how companies react to that too. And if you have a company that is really trying to stick to the old school ways, ways of doing things like, no, there's no remote work. You have to come into the office. You get paid this. These are your only benefits. You're going to start to see those companies really start to dwindle in general too, and their employees are going to leave for better opportunities. So, and I've worked for companies like that before, and the reason I stay at my current company is because we don't have that mindset. It's very flexible. It's very progressive, and people are just going to have to change with the times. Gen Z starting to kind of come up. I can relate to them. I love seeing the differences between what you would consider a boomer, a baby boomer, and Gen Z, and just the complete fun.
I like that. While you were talking, I thought of a cool little thing. Just because what AEC builds lasts forever doesn't mean that the mindsets have to last forever.
Very true.
Right?
Very true. And I hope it doesn't. So
yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Michael, thank you so much for this, for your time today. It's always awesome to speak to, smart people like you doing big things in the AEC world. Guys, if you guys want to keep up with Michael Mejia, search him up on LinkedIn. They're always talking about internships over at his company. And yeah, Michael, you want to say something to our listeners?
Yeah, just follow your passions and go for your dreams. Don't let anybody get in the way of it, though.
All right, guys. See ya. That was another episode for AEC Insider. Hope everyone has a great day. See ya.